So this is the Ashikan cultural space, and I picked up their pamphlet. Sacred Fire Productions believes in the revitalization of Indigenous art and cultural practices traditionally rooted in the communities. We indigenize and we focus on bringing a positive and better understanding of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit culture.
And I love this statement on the back of Nadine St. Louis, who's the director here. Without a platform, an artist is not heard or seen. He does not even exist. An artist is sustainable if he can sell his work.
Isn't
Probably
that
the hardest thing for anyone as an artist to do.
Absolutely. Think about how much money is made on tourism off the backs of Indigenous culture every single day.
But do the artists actually get the money?
Absolutely not.
That's the point.
That's why places and spaces like this are the solution to the appropriation problem.
And Canada should be supporting this.
Absolutely. So if I buy this pair of earrings here, I know that the person who actually had their hands on this, who made this beautiful piece of art, is going to get money, not only to support their business, but to feed their families and to make a broader contribution within their community.
And if people offer a platform for us to actually have money to create and buy more materials to do more work and get our stories out further, what better platform?
Absolutely, but it has to be by Indigenous for the world.
Exactly.
My name is Chris Nargang. I am an archaeologist and artist. My grandmother was a residential school survivor who hid her true identity from our family. I am on this journey to find my truth, reconcile the past, and continue the legacy that was stolen from her.
I'm Sarain Fox. I'm an Anishinaabe from Batchewana First Nation, and I belong to the Three Fires Medewan Medicine Society. The movement of Indigenous knowledge revitalization is thriving across Turtle Island, and I want to introduce Kris and all of you to the revolutionary work being done by those who have dedicated their lives to shifting colonial narratives by harnessing Indigenous knowledge. We are the future our ancestors dreamed of. Our prophecies tell us that the time is now to reclaim, rematriate, and revitalize the knowledge intended for us. This is future history. So, cultural appropriation. I'm excited to talk to an expert about this in the literary field, because I think if you were going to write some information from a literary perspective and you took information from someone, no, you have to cite them, otherwise it's plagiarism. But in the Indigenous world, all of our information that we openly give is not cited. Information that we give is taken as though it didn't belong to us in the first place. But that's part of appropriation too, because one of the things that happens when people tell our stories is that they get it wrong and it gets passed down as fact. Then it actually eliminates the possibility for preservation to happen, because it gets in the way of our truth.
It's removing the truth of the culture.
Ani bonjour. Lenore Indigenous Maingan Indodam Niashingaming Indonjaba. Minwa Saking Niashing Indonjaba. Lenore is my name. Maingan is my totem. Niashingaming, this beautiful point of land, is where my sound comes from. When I was a child, I used to hear Canadians talking about Native people. And the Canadians were always the expert, and it was as if our people knew nothing about themselves, about our culture, and even about the rocks that make up our homeland. So I guess it was probably then that I decided I would do something about it, and just naturally fell into storytelling. Maybe I shouldn't say fall into, I just meant to be a storyteller. With the issue of cultural appropriation Cultural appropriation is taking something from someone's culture without their permission and using it and changing it and warping it all out of reality and then presenting it as your own. They're stealing our stories. And because she phoned me, because I worked with an Aboriginal publication, then I realized then that asking me to speak up, to do something about it, as it's hard. It's censorship, basically. Well, I think at this point in time, it's strictly an Indigenous person's work. We're still on the low end. We're still climbing out of that history of colonization. And people are still kind of pushing us down, trying to keep us in that hole, right? So I think at this point, yes, it's ours. These are for us to tell. Maybe there will be a time when we will feel that we are equal. People will see us as equals. And be respectful. I think equality is respect. And I think too many people do not want to be respectful. To me, the ideal scenario is the prophecy of Turtle Island, where the four colors of people will come together on Turtle Island to make Turtle Island their home and work together for the common good. But I don't see that prophecy as meaning it. They come and they jump into a melting pot. They bring their cultures with them, and we celebrate that diversity. And we share the food, and then we can share the dancing. But we each have our own voices, our own stories, our own way of honoring and respecting creation, but we work together as one people for the common good.
So we're back in your favorite place.
Back in the big smoke, eh?
So we're going to meet Sage Paul, who is an incredible designer, artist. She has an amazing collective called Setsune, and they basically create, a platform for people to access their traditional craft, but also she is a designer and makes incredible Indigenous couture. So part of the platform is that they don't actually have a hard space. So she doesn't have a studio like you or like me. They create space and platforms from anywhere in the city in an urban setting. So today what we've done is we've rented a studio so that we can curate our own installation with Sage.
So we're gonna make one.
Yeah, it's still, oh, there she is.
Oh, so this is,
Well, Sage will tell you everything you need to know. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm totally ready.
Awesome. Hey, Sage.
Hey, guys.
Hi there.
This is Rhoda.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to meet you.
You too.
So good to see you. Awesome. Tell me about Setsune and how that came to be and what that work is.
Yeah, Setsune. I actually wanted to start on a project with my little sister about cultural appropriation, and that's kind of where it all started, because I want to have this space where we can look at traditional dress, and we can look at contemporary dress and who we are, what our identity is, politics, and that politics around fashion and anti-fashion and how that's used and how we use that as a medium to really push forward our ideas and just how we're represented.
So this guy's gonna undo.
Oh, lost my head.
Just cute. Oh, weird. Not only are they asexual, but they're also...
No features at all.
Are you happy? Yeah, they are really, really whitewashed, though.
Yeah, they're not really that Indigenous, are they?
Well, they're not really any normal. I don't even know any white people that are this white.
It's kind of bright, eh?
Okay, let's paint them right now.
Yeah?
Let's just paint them?
take them and paint them.
Yeah, let's just paint them.
We're doing images of Indigenous people. Initially, I think we were thinking about doing something that was more traditional, but if we're looking at contemporary Indigenous people right now, Really, it's like water warriors and that resistance. I just thought it's something we would just kind of build on that story.
People always have a very interesting perspective on it. And we look at Coachella or the iconic Indians. People have a lust for who we are in terms of like the outside. They don't want us to have a voice or to have an opinion, but this idea that there is this lust for Indigenous fashion. And I wonder, it's like,
it's a fetish.
It's a fetish.
It's so weird. And you have people who are profiting off of our culture. Meanwhile, we are disenfranchised in every single way, and our culture is being sold to make money, a lot of money. And why aren't our people making it? Why aren't our grandmas and our sisters profiting off of that? And I think that's also the line where I want to promote or like go against cultural appropriation and specifically for like support Indigenous made. Right now, especially, I think it's important that whatever movement is being led or whatever project is being led, that it is Indigenous led when it's speaking to our culture and our ancestors and where we've come from. Because that comes from within us, that where we lead that and bring that culture, like that conversation back. We weren't allowed to talk about where we came from. We weren't allowed to practice our ways. And now we are, like here we're not finding it, but we're allowing it to be presented now. And we're honoring who we are. And it's important to have those voices there and to like collaborate with people as long as it's Indigenous led. Because we have to work with, this is the fact of our life right now, is that we are in society that is, influenced by colonizers and Indigenous people. So what does that agreement look like? And we don't want to get screwed over like we did with the treaties. So be a part and be present and active in creating what that looks like.
What would you say would be the cure for cultural appropriation?
Just stop stealing our stuff. I mean, it's really that simple.
My name is Nadine St. Louis. I'm a Mi'kmaq, Acadian and Scottish woman from the Mi'kmaq territory of the East Coast, but I reside in Montreal, Quebec. Cultural appropriation affects groups that have been marginalized or have undergone systemic racism and have had no space to have a voice. So when we speak of the Indigenous worldview that has had no permission to exist because of colonial policies that made it illegal to have cultural practice. Now we have these obstacles, systemic racism, historical oblivion, like not being seen by anybody in our books and our policies. And then we have non-Indigenous people taking icons, whether it's the headdress, because we gotta say it, Indigenous headdresses is very iconic to Indigenous people, and they turn it into a costume, or they turn it into a very mundane object. It destroys the sacredness. It destroys the story connected to the object. Every artifact, every object is encoded with a story, a tradition, and a mindset when it's created. Our people don't make things because they're pretty. Our people make things because they have a meaning. The eagle feather is something very sacred and very honorable. And to get one might take you 20, 30, 40 years to get one. That feather represents sacredness. And when I see it on a headdress and someone dancing in a rave, they're negating the purpose of the story encoded in that object. It's time to make a stop to that and give room, acknowledgement, and space for sovereign cultural creation of the cultural rights and items that were taken away from them.
Thanks so much for having us, Nadine.
Oh my God, I'm so excited that both of you are here today.
Could you tell us how you are working here to stop and help get rid of cultural appropriation?
Well, the Ashikan cultural space was to create a space that was dedicated 100% to Indigenous handmade products, from beadwork to moccasins to the artwork, and to support Indigenous artists in professional development. This is to fight poverty. This is to fight social exclusion. This is to give voice to our marginalized communities that have no access to the cultural dialogue that you find in urban centers. Okay, guys, come over here. I want to show you some of the wonderful stuff that we're carrying. These moccasins are made from the lower north shore of the Innu Nation. This is all handmade, not machine-made.
Handmade, traditional.
Absolutely, and if you go in Old Montreal, anywhere else but here, it's all machine-made moccasins that are made in China, made in Pakistan. Over here, we are fighting that. We are getting rid of the mass-produced, cultural appropriated items. We have emerging artists that are reclaiming tradition, reclaiming identity, reaffirming that the culture is something that's vibrant, alive, and resurfacing, but we need a space for this, right?
So talking about creating a space and getting this out there, I want to know more about this website.
Okay, the website. This website is something that Jay Soul and I have been talking about. It's called reclaimindigenousart.com.
And the idea behind it is that we want to have it be really brief, just like a really short blurb about what cultural appropriation is, who you hurt and how you're hurting the people you're hurting. And then it's also just to put, Parks Canada on notice that you having these things on your shelves hurts the Indigenous community. You go into any of the Tourism Canada gift shops and any of the national parks, they carry this stuff. It's non-Indigenous made, it's made in China. It helps perpetuate the stereotype of what Indigenous people do as art, right? The example that we always go back to is that if I'm a handbag store and I'm selling knockoff handbags and I get caught doing that, the police come and confiscate that and I get a huge fine. We need to have that same protection as those brands do over our intellectual property. It is protected, just not enforced. So that's what this Reclaiming Indigenous Arts is about. But it's also about if you're a moccasin maker, a beater, a painter, a sculptor, a carver, whatever you are, you're going to be able to sign up, and then we're going to be able to put your name into our database. So any of these gift shops, they can contact you directly. So it doesn't become that exploitive situation, whereas a lot of Indigenous artists are exploited through third party, where they're buying your work and then they're reselling it at a crazy high markup, whereas you're going to be able to sell directly to these people with no middleman. I think that's what it's about, is cutting out the exploitive nature of it as well.
Okay, so this is exploitation. Yeah. I don't want to look at it anymore. So can we burn it or smash it? Can we do something?
We can take this stuff back there and smash it up. We can bring a hammer and just
we could do that here.
I feel bad smashing up the little dolly, but she's got to go.
She's got to go.
She's got to go?
Yeah.
She's gotta go. Our youth have woken up. People have gone through residential schools and gone through any sort of oppression. Our people are waking up, and this is what it's about. This revolution that's happening for our people is being indigenized. We're finding ways, like through the work I do, of indigenizing pop culture. We're taking everything and indigenizing, at the same time reclaiming our identities through our arts and our stories and our works.
Feeling that these guys here, especially Little Lady, they should go in a fire. Yeah, I think so.
I'm with the fire.
So if you're down, we'll all meet back at my house, burn it down. Excuse my language.
Oh, puppy. Look out, puppy. Grab him by the crotch.
Just grab him by the crotch.
No, this didn't look good.
Oh yeah, this isn't authentic.
Wow. All of this stuff here, all of this represents the narrative that was created for us by the colonizers after they took everything that was sacred to us. And it also represents all of the missed economy that is going on all of the ways that our true artisans could be making money. And I just want to read this. This is a fake drum here with a vinyl skin and a fake birch bark. And on this certification, it says, this product has been handcrafted using traditional skills passed down from generation to generation over the centuries. Scars and marks found on the leather certify the ancestral, spelt wrong with an E, process used to tan this quality hide. So this is absolutely also not the truth. It's not the truth of who we are. It's not the truth of who we ever were. And I think because of that, the only way to reclaim our true identity is to burn this the way that they burned our sacred items.
So what do you want to burn first?
I want to burn these tomahawks, and specifically this rattle.
Oh, that's a beauty. Oh, look at this thing. Oh, that's a real bone. Look at that.
This is
Scapula.
not who we are.
Yeah.
This is
Buffalo
never going to
shoulder.
be a part of who we are.
Do it.
My intention from this day forward and for the 7 generations to come is that my children never have to be victims of this racist imagery. That my children's children's children will live in a time where they are recognized as a living culture, freed from this abusive way that colonizers represent us.
And my intention is that I hope our ancestors are looking down and watching behind us to see that we're reclaiming what they took and the way they've been portrayed. And I pray that they are watching us right now as we do this.